Morning, everybody in the VC. I hope you're all having a good weekend, and just just uh, felt moved, I guess, to weigh in with my thoughts on what happened 2 days ago here. It's been now, and nothing nothing really profound or probably even that interesting to add. Nothing that hadn't already been discussed and said here on YouTube, Facebook, and elsewhere. But man, what a shock and surprise and a gut punch we had a couple of days ago. Prince, 57 years old, way too young, uh, caught me totally off guard. I was at work. I'm at work today doing some stuff, but walking back to my desk, and a sports writer who sits over behind me looks up and says, "Well, how did Prince die?" And it was just like, how did what, and so we looked on the computer, and sadly, that was the case. He was 57's pretty young. He was, from everything I've heard, and I'm not like I knew him, so who knows? But he was in good health. He toured all the time. He, for everything I've read, his shows were the the energy and the showmanship and the effort he gave was that of somebody 20, 30 years his junior. Uh, you read that I've read that he was kind of, lived a good life, was not into the drug and party scene. Again, we don't really know these people other than their public persona, so who knows? But doesn't seem like he was into stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, it's a huge Prince fan. His music has played and continues to play a huge role in the soundtrack of my life. So it was just caught me totally off guard there. And this is not the first one to say this. Everyone's kind of saying this the first 4 months of this year, and it's been just a strange, ghoulish, unsettling year with all these losses we've had that seem like it's more than usual this year. And I've said and thought here in recent months that sadly, I think the next decade, next few years, or whatever, for those of us of a certain age, are going to be a tough ride in that respect. All of the sort of musical heroes, for lack of a better word, that we grew up with, whose music was such a part of our is such a part of our life, and not just music, but actors and athletes and other people that are well known. Uh, you know, those people are all at this point in their 60s, 70s, 80s. So I think that the sad news of these unfortunate passings in the years to come here is going to be, unfortunately, more the rule than the exception. But given that, this one was really out of left field. I never expected this one, um, and so it was just, like I said, I don't really have anything that spellbinding or important to say today, but was just thinking the last couple of days here really sort of took me back to 83, 84, and Prince music's been all over the radio. Uh, One of those odd coincidences of life that maybe they mean something, maybe they don't. Who knows? Saturday, last Saturday, not today, record store day. I went to my store, and they had vinyl. The used vinyl was 20% off, which they do every record store day. And so I picked up several albums, one of which was Dirty Mind by Prince, one of his great albums that I had years and years ago, and I sold off a lot of my vinyl, didn't have it anymore, so picked that up again, and I was actually playing that Sunday and and enjoying getting reacquainted with that album, which I hadn't heard. It'd been probably back in the '80s since the last time I'd heard it, so that was nice to reacquaint and listen to that again. Um, and I think we've had all these losses, and somebody said on the radio when I was riding home, which I kind of related to, was the loss of Prince hits particularly hard uh, for for me being the age that I am, and for other people in my age range maybe, because he was sort of ours, meaning my favorite bands, the Beatles. Everyone knows I love the Kinks and all that. In the case, what's kind of different with Prince versus those guys is that I was around when the Beatles and the Kinks started and were brand new, but I was a little bitty kid. I was, I don't know, 5, 6 months old when the Beatles showed up in America. I was about 6 years old when they broke up. So by the time I sort of really tuned into them, I have vague memories of them back in the '60s when I was a little bitty. My brothers and their friends and older kids in the neighborhood playing their records and hearing them on the radio. But the time I really tuned into them was '73 or so. I was 9, 10 years old. By that time, their best work was already done. They were no longer a band anymore. Uh, but Prince, on the other hand, I was there. I was 18, 19, 20 years old, young, sort of early '80s, one of the best times of my life, and it was really neat to uh, be there. I remember the first time I ever heard him. I was in 11th grade. We had a field trip for a class in school, and some guy in class, can't remember his name. I graduated 30 some years ago. He said, go in my car. So okay, jump in his car, and he pops in a cassette, and the song Controversy starts playing. Never heard it, but I'm sort of listening along, and 30 seconds or so in there, I'm like, hey, this is a really good song. What is this? He tells me. I said, well, who is this? And he does, this is Prince. Never heard of the guy, and this is, like I said, it's about 1981. And I said, well, is he new, or I don't. He tells me, well, this is like his second or third album. He's been around a couple of years. He's pretty new, I guess. And so I remember listening to the tape, and then the next song comes on and all, and I'm thinking, this guy's going to be big. I tell the guy, and he goes, yeah, I don't know, maybe, but and then I didn't run out and buy Controversy. I actually kind of forgot about the song, and a year or so later, MTV's brand new and exciting and fun and good, and he starts showing up with videos from the 1999 album, Delirious, Little Red Corvette. 1999, he's starting to get bigger. I think those songs are really cool. And then, of course, Purple Rain comes, which, one of the great albums of all time. Just not a bad song on it. Was told the story before, but I went the very first day. First, I had the Friday off from work, so I went to the movie theater at like the 12:30 show. Saw the movie. I had no idea what to expect. I went to movies all the time. I had just seen word that he was making a movie. I read a review a couple of weeks before the movie came out that was a good review, said the movie was good. Uh, when Doves Cry had been released shortly before the movie, a week or two, it was already getting a lot of airplay on the radio. It was a great song. Otherwise, I didn't know any of the songs. So I go in, sit down, watch the movie, and it's starts up. Let's Go Crazy, opens the movie, and I'm just sitting in my seat, just blown away, just like, holy shit. And then other songs follow: Darling Nikki, Baby I'm a Star, Take Me With You, Purple Rain, of course, and every song is just like, oh my God, this, and I've got a, So I ran out after the movie and drove up to the record store, bought the album that just, 20, 30 minutes after I got out of the movie, went home, played it all day, went to the movie myself because I had the day off and my friends and stuff, they were at work or wherever. Later that day, about 5 or 6, some of my friends in the neighborhood started getting home. I was like, man, we got to go. We got to go see this movie. Went back and saw it again, second time that night with them, and just blown away by that album. It was there are songs that you hear that it takes a few listens, takes a while for them to sink in, and then it hits you what a great song it is. They are, and then there are songs that you just like boom hit you right off the bat. First time you hear it, first few seconds, you're gonna love this song. It's gonna be a lifelong friend, and that's sort of what the Purple Rain album was for me. Just every song on there. Um, and of course, after that, I went back and bought his earlier albums, 1999 Controversy and the Dirty Mind and all that. And yeah, it was. And of course, those songs have all since become part of the classic canon of great rock, pop, whatever you want to call them songs. But it was really something special and wonderful, I guess, to be 19, 20 years old at the time that those were brand new. I remember this being the summer of '84. It's late July, August, I think, when the movie came out. And my girlfriend and all my friends, pretty much everybody I remember, had a copy of Purple Rain on cassette or the album. And when we'd be out running around summer nights, goofing off and having fun, that was the soundtrack of that summer, and really exciting to be there when that was brand new before they were had reached classic oldie stage, I guess. I don't know. And so my girlfriend and I, we went to see him in concert that same year, a few months later, on the Purple Rain tour, and just an incredible musician, songwriter, entertainer, performer, dancer, lyricist, and a lot of great music in the '80s. But I think he was the top of the mountain, and so yeah, I was thinking of that probably hits a little more because that was something that I was actually there during his heyday when he was new and just breaking, and then when he was doing his best work. And so I don't know what else to add. I mean, just I think he, like all the greats, or the greatest, it's kind of hard to pigeonhole them, put them in a category. The Beatles, are they a rock and roll band? Well, yes, they are, but they're also there's old English music hall. There's the Indian music stuff that George brought in. There's some country-ish sounding stuff. There's ballads. They're just you can't really say they're rock and roll. They are, but they're not. They're just the Beatles, and they got their own unique sound. And it's the same with a few other bands that are the true cream of the crop, great ones. And that's certainly the case with Prince. I think is he soul music? Yes. Is he funk? Yes. Is he rock? Yes. Is he pop? Yes. But he's all of that, and he's none of that, and he's just his own unique sound. And that's you can certainly pull influences. You can say, well, there's some James Brown in there, there's some Hendrix in there, there's some psychedelic Beatle pop, there's Sly and the Family Stone influence, George Clinton and Parliament funkadelic influence. But like the Beatles and Elvis, and everyone has their influences, the great ones take those influences, the truly original ones and great ones take those influences, and they incorporate them to come up with their own unique sound and vision and work. And certainly that was the case with Prince, which is sort of get off the subject for a second. That's why so much of the music now is that's one reason so much of the music now, most of the music now is terrible, because most of the bands or performers you hear, and it's just a composite of their influences, and they just sound like they're trying to copy something that was done before, years or decades before, and done much better. And you don't really get, or at least I haven't heard very many of those original voices around anymore. And the other thing, Prince, like the Beatles, like other great ones, I was watching TV Thursday night, and they were showing, it's all Prince coverage, of course. They were showing gatherings of people in just all over, Chicago and Minneapolis and New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, wherever. And I was listening, driving home from work, to the radio, and people were calling in and sharing their memories of Prince. And it just hit me that, you've got, at these gatherings of people calling in, you've got men and women, you've got young people, old people, you've got black, white, Hispanic, just you know, just a range of sort of disparate group of people that, if you would have put them together, you would have thought these people probably have little or nothing in common. And here's this through this wonderful music, this common ground that brings them together. Certainly, you know, that applies to Prince, and so that was nice to see. And it's been nice to listen to his music again. Not that I haven't listened to it through the years, but just the last couple of days, a little more than I had been usually. And watching the video again at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from, I think it's 207, the performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps with Prince and Danny Harrison, Tom Petty, and Jeff Lynne, some other people, and just that just beautiful, incredible guitar solo that Prince rips off at the end of the song there. Um, and yeah, so just a sad, sad loss. I think something else that sort of hit me was something I saw on Facebook where someone had said, when these people die, these famous people or our heroes or whatever you want to categorize them as, why do we get so uh, upset or involved or emotionally invested, or so many of us do? And, the argument being that, yes, we love their music. Yes, it did a lot for us, but it's not like we knew these people, even though, I mean, at some point they kind of seemed like parts of the family in some ways, but I mean, we didn't know them or hang out with them. So why do we get so invested in this? And the answer was, we don't get so invested because we knew them. We get so invested because their work helped us to better know ourselves. And yeah, okay, that sounds a little cheesy Hallmark greeting card sentiment, but there's a lot of truth to that. And I think the great ones, that I know in my life, there's been a ton of times when a particular song has just fit perfect with what's going on in my life at that time, has gone on to be, like I've said before, the soundtrack of my life for from then on. I know that a lot of times a song, the lyrics have sort of said something where I hear the song and I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. That's my take on that. That's what I'm thinking. I just didn't have the words or know how to put that into words, but this song has done just that. It's taken what I was feeling and put it into words better than I could. And so yeah, certainly quite a few Prince songs that have played that role in my life. So that's about it. I probably haven't added anything of a note here that hadn't already been said better by others. Just he was a hell of a talent and a badass singer, guitar player, and just a lot of great music. And it's a real shock to see him gone. And fortunately, we've got the music left, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. So thanks for the music, Prince, and everyone out in the VC. I hope you have a good weekend.